What does Apple actually do? When you think of Apple, you probably picture an iPhone. Or maybe the MacBook you're using right now. Or maybe you're listening iTunes with your iPods. Either way, those sleek devices are everywhere. But the Apple of today isn't just a gadget company. It's a masterclass in vertical integration, brand loyalty, and an ecosystem dominance. And it's grown into the most valuable company on earth, pulling over 380 billion a year. To truly understand Apple's businesses and what might come next, we need to look beyond the polished surface and examine the powerful engines driving it forward. Apple's business segments, products and services. Apple reports its businesses in two major buckets, products and services. But those categories hide a highly strategic structure that powers one of the most profitable machines in corporate history. Let's start with products. Products, more than just iPhones. Let's start with products, which are still about 75% of the revenue. And yes, the iPhone is still the undisputed king. In 2023 alone, it brought in around 200 billion in revenue. More than the entire annual revenue of companies like Nike, Coca-Cola and Disney. The iPhone isn't just a product, it's a gateway. It introduces users to Apple's ecosystem. Once you're in, chances are you'll stick around. Next up are the Mac and iPad. These are not Apple's biggest moneymakers, but they're essential for two reasons. First, they lock in users across devices. Second, they increasingly appeal to professionals, particularly with Apple's transition to its own M-series chips, which brought massive performance and efficiency gains. Then there's the wearables, home and accessories, sometimes overlooked segment. AirPods, Apple Watch, HomePods, these aren't just gadgets. They are part of Apple's strategy to surround the user with hardware that talks to each other. AirPods alone generate more revenue than Netflix does in half a year. Think about that. Apple's hardware margins are among the highest in the industry. And it's not just because of the sleek design. It's about control. Apple controls the hardware, the software, the supply chain, and increasingly the silicon. That level of integration allows Apple to innovate on its own terms and protect its margins in ways few others can. Next up are the services, the hidden giant. Services are Apple's fastest growing segment and the key to its future. These include the Apple Store, where Apple takes a cut of every paid app and in-app purchase. iCloud, where you pay monthly fees for extra storage. Small charges multiplied by across billions. Apple Music, Apple TV, Apple Arcade. Streaming content to lock users in and keep them engaged. Apple Care, extended warranties and support. And now Apple Pay and Apple Card moves into fintech and financial services. In total, services brought in over 85 billion in 2023, at margins far higher than the hardware. Apple has quietly become a subscription machine. But more importantly, services turn Apple from a product-based business into a recurring revenue powerhouse. Investors love that kind of predictability. Apple's core strategy: ecosystem, integration, and privacy. Apple doesn't just sell products and services. It sells a closed ecosystem. Your iPhone talks to your Mac. Your Mac syncs with your iPad. Your Apple Watch unlocks your laptop, and everything just works. And once you're in, switching is painful. This ecosystem creates stickiness. It's the reason Apple boasts leading customer retention rates, around plus 90% for the iPhone. And it's why they can command premium pricing in a world of cheaper alternatives. But there's more. Apple builds its own chips now, from the M series to the A series, gaining performance edge and independence from suppliers like Intel and Qualcomm. Apple is also pushing privacy as a competitive advantage, appealing to customers and setting Apple apart from ad-driven tech rivals. And its brand power is second to none. Aspirational, luxurious, minimalist. All of this works together to drive one key thing: control. Apple controls the full experience. And in doing so, it controls the margins, the upgrades, the upsells, and the customer journey. Apple's future. So what's the future for Apple? Let's break it down by key themes. AI and on-device intelligence. Apple isn't chasing the AI hype with flashy language models like some of its peers. But make no mistake, it's investing heavily in AI behind the scenes. Think smarter Siri, on-device processing that respects privacy, AI-powered photography, recommendations and productivity tools. The rumors are strong that iOS 18 will be Apple's AI moment, with deep integrations across the OS that leverage Apple's silicon for real-time private AI features. If done right, this could be Apple's next iPhone-like leap. Next up is the Vision Pro and spatial computing. Apple's $3,500 headset, the Vision Pro, is not a mass-market product yet. But like original Macintosh or iPhone, it's a glimpse of what's coming. Apple calls it spatial computing. It's a bet on a world where screens become 3D, immersive and virtual. The tech isn't ready for mainstream today, but Apple is building the infrastructure now. And investors should pay attention how quickly developers and consumers adopt this new frontier. Financial services and health. Apple is quietly expanding into fintech and healthcare. With Apple Card, Apple Pay, and high-yielding savings accounts in partnership with Goldman Sachs, Apple is becoming a player in your wallet. On the health side, Apple Watch is already a trusted health monitor, tracking heart rate, blood oxygen, ECG, and more. Apple sees healthcare as a long-term play, both public good and major business opportunity. And lastly, China, supply chain and geopolitical risks. No deep dive is complete without acknowledging the risks. Apple depends heavily on China for both manufacturing and revenue. Rising tensions and tariffs between the US and China may become a long-term problem, as well as growing competition from local brands like Huawei are strategic threats. To mitigate this, Apple is diversifying its supply chain, with increasing production in India and Vietnam, but it is a slow, delicate process. Final thoughts. Apple is often called a hardware company, a luxury brand, a tech platform, even a bank in the making. But maybe the simplest way to think about this is this. Apple is an ecosystem, one that billions of people live in and people rarely leave from it. Investors benefit from every time somebody buys an iPhone, pays for iCloud, listens to Apple Music or swipes an Apple Card. It's not without risks. Regulation, China exposure, and the saturation in mature markets. But Apple's relentless focus on integration, user experience, and brand loyalty has built one of the most defensive moats in corporate history. But what do you think? Is Apple still a growth story? Is Apple gonna be around after 20 years? Or is it gonna lose its moat somehow? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown and want to see more deep dives into the world's most influential companies, hit that like button and subscribe for more. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.